Private Parts is a 1997 American biographical comedy film produced by Ivan Reitman and directed by Betty Thomas. The film is an adaptation of the autobiographical chapters from the best-selling 1993 book of the same name by radio personality Howard Stern. Developed from a script by Len Blum and Michael Kalesniko, it follows Stern's life from boyhood and his rise to success in radio. Stern and several of his radio show staff star as themselves, including newscaster and co-host Robin Quivers, producers Fred Norris and Gary Dell'Abate, and comedian Jackie Martling. The film also stars Mary McCormack, Allison Janney, Michael Murphy and Paul Giamatti. After a proposed film featuring Stern as the superhero character Fartman fell through, development for a new film began in 1994, several months after Private Parts was released. Stern signed with Reicher Entertainment, who agreed to fund its production, and teamed with Reitman, who thought a biographical take on Stern's life would be best suited for a film. Production was delayed after Stern rejected 22 scripts from several screenwriters, until he accepted one developed by Blum and Kalesniko in late 1995. Filming took place in New York City area and Washington, D.C. in 1996 with a budget of $28 million, during which Stern continued to host his radio show each weekday morning. Numerous celebrities and family members of the radio show staff make cameo appearances in the film. The soundtrack is formed from songs of several rock bands, as well as 2 original songs featuring Stern performing with Rob Zombie and the Dust Brothers. The film premiered on February 27, 1997 at the theatre at Madison Square Garden and was theatrically released on March 7th by Paramount Pictures. It debuted at number 1 in the US box office in its opening weekend with a gross of $14.6 million and earned a domestic total of $41.2 million. It received mostly positive reviews from film critics, a group with whom Stern had made conscious effort to please, including those who did not listen to the radio show or were not fans of his. In 1998, the film was released on DVD, and Stern won a Blockbuster Award for Favorite Male Newcomer for his performance. Equally, Stern also received a nomination for Worst Newcomer in 1997. Stern shot additional scenes for a censored version of the film prior to its premiere television broadcast on the USA Network in 1999. The cast includes Howard Stern as himself and the narrator. According to Stern, at first he believed that he would be able to improvise throughout the movie, as he does on his radio show. He did not memorize his lines though, so producer Ivan Reitman had to pull him aside and explain to him that he needed to learn his lines, as scripted. However, he was allowed to improvise the final monologue in the film, which he talks to the camera, and only one take was filmed. Jeff Goldblum was originally considered to play Howard in the film. Stern, however, insisted he was not afraid to play himself in the film, and felt the idea of someone else rather than himself playing the role would lead to the biggest box office bomb in history. Robin Quivers, who plays herself, also an American radio personality, author and actress, best known for being the long-time running co-host on The Howard Stern Show. Mary McCormack as Allison Stern, Howard's wife. Stern had initial doubts about casting her, but describing her as a bit perhaps too fancy, but Thomas insisted she was the right choice after initial tryout screening. McCormack claimed that one of the reasons why she accepted the role, after initial reluctance because of Howard Stern's controversial reputation, was how it would affect her film career. She confided in her Murder One co-star at the time, Stanley Tucci, over lunch. Tucci quipped, "What film career?" over her objection. McCormack decided to accept the role after Tucci advised her that she should accept it, and after meeting director Betty Thomas and Howard Stern. Fred Norris as himself, an American radio personality and longest tenured staff member of The Howard Stern Show. Paul Giamatti as Kenny Pigvomit Rushton. The character of Pigvomit is based on Kevin Metheny, a WNBC radio program director at the time. In real life, Howard called him Pigvirus, not Pigvomit. Pigvomit was the name of the group that did Howard's opening theme song for the radio show at the time. And finally, Jenna Jameson as Mandy. In June 1996, auditions were held in New York City for the role of Mandy, a part that had 7 lines of dialogue with full frontal nudity. As many as 25 women tried out for the role, including some who worked as topless dancers, but producers rejected all of them on the basis of their appearance or quality of acting. The role was finally given to porn star Jenna Jameson. Now, I found myself really enjoying this film. It's one of those films I heard about as a kid and always wondered what it would be like to see it. And I'm happy to say I'm not disappointed in the slightest. Howard Stern is charming and so believable because at the end of the day he's actually playing out his own life story, with some, of course, glamorized facts. Some of the humour might be a bit dated in today's terms, but what really surprised me though was the sort of wonderful love story between Stern and Allison. Obviously the couple would later on divorce in real life, but at the time of this film was made in 1997, you could see Stern really wrote about Allison with a lot of love. What Stern shows you here is a nicer, kinder, caring more person off the radio. His character on radio is completely over the top, of course, but that's the point. And some of the more wilder and outlandish scenes are all done for effect on the radio. But behind the scenes, you see a sort of deeper man and much more personal. Some of the scenes in the movie that really stand out for me was Stern courting Allison, his eagerness to have a baby, and even his apology to Allison as some standout moments in this film. Now, I'm sure this film was primarily made to appeal to the die-hard Stern fans, but I feel it can appeal to a general audience as well. And like I said, you can see it was made in the late 90s, so it is somewhat dated in terms of today's perspectives. But nonetheless, this is a well-made, well-acted film. And when you realize that both Stern and Quivers, for example, are not real-life actors, they play such convincing, engaging versions of themselves in their both feature film debuts. For me, Thomas's directing skills make the film play out much better, and I feel that she really leans into Stern's comedic timing and ability, and she gets the best out of him. She was quoted as saying that Stern became more and more comfortable as filming progressed, but for example, there's a scene where Allison now told Stern that she lost the baby. Apparently, Betty Thomas actually went up to Stern and told him that she had ovarian cancer in order to get him to emote better, which of course he did very well for the scene. Now, of course, this is a movie about a shock jock. He's controversial. That was the point of Howard Stern's show. In the same breath, though, it's equally funny and very raunchy. Look, this is definitely not one for the kids, but that's the point of the film. It's supposed to be a film that questions boundaries and pushes limits. McCormack plays Allison well, and her chemistry is quite believable with Howard, and Giamatti, of course, is completely over the top here as Pig Vomit, but he plays the role perfectly. All in all, this is a good-natured, well-made film, and Stern really does play this role so well, because at the end of the day, he's playing himself. In saying that, though, that's not always easy to do as an actor. Yes, some of the scenes are over the top. Yes, some of the scenes are shocking. Yes, there's a lot of full frontal nudity and fart jokes and things like that. But when you look past all of that, you really find, like I said, a well-made, well-intentioned movie with a lot of heart. This is an entertaining, fun ride, and I really found myself quite enjoying it. Private Parts gets an 8.5 out of 10.